James Troy was not a man who could be considered patient. Oh, he could wait. He knew that sometimes waiting on people or for the opportune moment to come out was essential. But when it comes to patience for others, patience for the dim-witted and the incompetent, James had little tolerance. As he sat in the docking office of the coordinator, Charles Bunker, the burly fellow sitting behind the counter with short-cut blonde hair and dull eyes, he could tell this was a very dense fellow. He had a gruff and annoyed expression on his face, like he wanted nothing more than to throw James out of the room, but that wasn't going to happen. Frost was there too, and she looked stunning. She had a lovely dress, and her hair had been done up in a manner to look alluring. She had a leg crossed over the other to accentuate her nylons. Her purse was resting in her lap as she smiled politely between the two men. This was an old tactic of Troy's at interviews or interrogation, and with a man like this, he hoped that his plan would work.
"So, explain this again," the bumbling coordinator growled. "You want to investigate the docks that Pablo worked? What good will that do? His body was found in the water."
"We have reason to believe he was killed here and then dumped in the ocean," James replied. "If it didn't happen here, then we won't find anything. But if he was, then your docks are a crime scene."
"The police already came and left a week or two ago. They didn't find anything, so I don't see the need to let a couple of private eyes look into it too, slowing down shipments."
"One of your employees was murdered, Charlie," Troy finally snarled. The killer could be someone on your payroll, and you don't seem all too concerned or choked up about the situation, and that strikes me as a little suspicious. Maybe the police didn't think so, but I do."
"What? You mean I'm a suspect? Why would I kill Pablo? With him gone, I'm down a night watchman. How do I benefit from that?"
Troy raised his eyebrow and smirked. "He had eyes and ears, Mr. Bunker. He might have seen or heard something. Something he wasn't supposed to see or hear. People get capped for a lot less in this city. Now I'm asking again. Let us take a look at the docks he patrolled."
"This is a place for dark hands, no murderers."
"Everyone's got to have a hobby," Troy growled. Elizabeth shifted slightly and stood up. Troy backed up a bit, and Charlie glanced in her direction, particularly towards her chest. "Is there a restroom I could use?" she asked. "Really?" Troy groaned. You just went before we left the office." "Feminine problems, Troy," she explained a bit forcefully.
"Yeah, in the back."
Charlie pointed his thumb behind him through the hallway past his office. Elizabeth gave a smile and then shifted past him towards the bathroom, being sure to swing her hips just enough for him to see. His eyes followed her for a few seconds before turning back to Troy.
I'm sorry, look, what do you want from me? I told you the police already came and went. I don't see any more need to drag this very unpleasant business out any further. Can't we just let it all go? Apparently it was some mob hit. Pablo was known to wrap himself up in some unreputable people, and I'm sure that this is what it is. This job doesn't lead to crime like this. It has to be separate."
"Let's start with a few simple things and we'll work our way from there. What was the dock number that Pablo watched?"
He watched 2, 3, sometimes 5.
What about 4?
4's been locked down for about 2 months of repairs and maintenance. No point guarding that one.
2 months just for maintenance?
"I'm sorry, I didn't know you were an expert on shipping and docking, Mr. Troy. Would you like to do my job?"
Charlie sneered. Troy could tell he wasn't getting to get much further this way. Normally, this would be the moment he marched out and found another individual to give him information, but something kept him there. Something kept him in that room. The aggressive and dismissive attitude Charlie was giving was starting to seem even more suspicious. "How well did you know the victim?"
"Not well,"
Charlie answered shortly. "You're not a little bit concerned about the loss of your employee?" Troy asked.
"If you hadn't noticed, there's a depression going on. Lots of folks need jobs. Won't be too hard to find a bum who needs a paycheck. My condolences to the family, of course. Don't misunderstand me, but I have to consider my assets and my job first."
James felt an overwhelming urge to punch Charlie across the face, but just before he could, there was a flush from a toilet not far off, and Elizabeth came walking down the hall, smiling. She smirked at Charlie, who smiled back.
"Do you have any questions for me, miss?" Charlie asked. "I wouldn't mind answering a few for you, like if you wanted to ask if I was available tonight."
Troy wanted to gag, but held himself back as Frost just grinned. How sweet. To tell the truth, I'd really just like to take a look at the docks that the victim was guarding. My partner and I could really use the time to take a look at it.
Well, I told you, miss. I told both of you. The police are...
Yes, I know. But it'd be a really big favor. She leaned over the desk a little, making sure he got a full view of her cleavage. I just want a little peek.
Well, I don't see any harm. I guess I can go down and unlock it for you.
Oh, I'll do that for you, Frost beamed, leaning even closer and starting to sit on his desk. I know someone as busy and worn down as you shouldn't have to bother with doing such unnecessary things. And when I'm all done, I'll bring your key right back to you. Intrigued by the notion of Elizabeth coming back again, he fumbled over himself to hand her his key. She took it delicately and winked. You're so wonderful, thank you. Troy pushed open the door for her, then nodded his head at Charlie before following her out.
Not bad, Troy snickered. Frost tossed him the key and he caught it with ease, twirling it in his finger. So, take care of your feminine problem?
He's as messy as he is stupid, Elizabeth sighed. I could barely dig my way through his files and portfolios. All I could find on his desk was that Dock 1, 2, 3, and 5 are all regular in and out shipping ports from Europe.
What about 4?
Strange enough, I didn't see a file on that. Then again, his office was a complete wreck. I wouldn't be surprised if I overlooked something.
Or he deliberately hid that file. What's so special about Dock 4? Troy grumbled.
Only one way to see.
Frost sighed with a grin. I don't know. Maybe if you flash a bit more skin at old Charlie, he'd have told us more. Troy rolled his eyes.
Now why on earth would I do that? Frost giggled, smiling mischievously. Don't tell me you're jealous.
Certainly not.
Because all you have to do is ask and I'd be more than happy to...
Don't tempt me. Troy laughed. Elizabeth giggled almost to the whole way to the dock gate. And once they arrived, Troy approached and inserted the key into the padlock. As he turned the key, he felt his hand twist a little. Frost, you got a piece?
Always.
You ready? I have a bad feeling in my gut. Frost didn't ask why. She just grabbed her pistol from its thigh holster and readied herself. There were many cold truths of reality. The sun will always rise in the east and set in the west. Water and oil do not mix. Cats land on their feet. And James Troy's gut never lies. It pulled James out of countless dangerous circumstances. It solved any number of mysteries and crimes. If James felt the threat building in his gut, it was in everyone's best interest to ready themselves. James Troy unlocked the padlock and pushed open the gate just in time for Frost to yank out her sidearm and have it at the ready. James reached for his own and took a few cautious steps inside. The dock was large, with a long expanse of concrete and wood planks that extended out into the harbor where a ship would be moored. There were small huts and facilities around where storage was done, and a small recreational hall for sailors after docking. However, much to James's disappointment, there was nothing here at all. No hidden items or stolen contraband. No sign of a murder or an attack. No blood. There was, frankly,
nothing, Frost sighed, putting away her pistol. What a letdown.
James walked deeper into the docking area and placed his pistol away as he examined everything in his sight, which was essentially barren. Frost followed, but had a very disapproving look on her face.
Well, I guess I'll have to give that slob some credit. He might keep his quarters filthy, but he keeps his docks clean.
Yeah, which is really strange. James started to notice a tickle in his brain that wouldn't let up. A nagging feeling, and it had to do with what Frost just said. Wait a minute. Frost, that's a pretty good point.
What is?
Look, there's nothing here. Absolutely nothing.
What's your point?
This dock is closed for renovations and maintenance, right? Where's the equipment? Where are all the renovations? Where are the renovators? There's no rope for mooring or spare parts lying around. The place is 100% clean. No dock is this clean on a good day, let alone when it's under heavy construction for over a month.
Elizabeth looked around to see what he was talking about, and then her eyebrows heightened as she began to realize what James was saying. You're saying this place was cleaned?
Of everything. Evidence, materials, bodies. Whatever goes on here is carefully watched and swept away when done. And I want to know what goes on here.
Pablo was a night watchman, right? Maybe whatever happens here happens at night?
Our victim wasn't supposed to watch Dock 4.
but he must have heard something going on over here and came to see. And when he did, he saw something he shouldn't have, so they killed him to keep him quiet, James whispered. But what did he see? Elizabeth walked to the water that was calmly sloshing against the concrete barrier. As she placed her hands on her hips, she stared at it, thinking. Illegal contraband, maybe? You don't kill someone just for contraband or illegal materials. You bribe them. Pablo was working for pennies, so I doubt he'd be hard to buy. That means one of two things. And they are? Well, first, it means that whatever Pablo saw was something the killer knew couldn't just be bribed away or swept under the carpet. And second, it means our killer is ruthless and not willing to charm his way out of trouble. I doubt many criminals are that good at charming anyway, Elizabeth shrugged. You kidding? James chuckled. Didn't you used to sing for punks and criminals in a nightclub? I wonder how many tried to charm you out of your undergarments. About a dozen a night, and none of them got close. Just too criminal for you? What can I say? Girls gotta have standards, especially these days. That's the problem these days. What, too many girls with high standards? No, the opposite, actually. Too few. Elizabeth smiled and shook her head. Joking aside, what's your next plan, James? She asked. We come back after dark? I will. I'll snoop around a little tonight and see what I can catch. You don't want any backup? Elizabeth asked. James shook his head. Not on this one. My gut won't stop acting up on this. I have a feeling that what we find here will be something big. Really big. I'd rather not put more lives in danger than I have to. Especially yours. And they say chivalry's dying, Elizabeth grinned. Come on, James, there's got to be something I can do to help. Yeah, maybe. There is one thing you can do. Tonight, put on your nicest evening dress and doll yourself up nice and pretty. Oh no, tell me you're not about to make me take that mutt Charlie on a date. I think I'd rather clean toilets. It's not for Charlie, James corrected. Make reservations at Shaft's for 2 at 10 o'clock tonight. Shaft's was a recently opened restaurant that was very expensive but very high class. Elizabeth looked shocked. Are you joking? No. Shaft's is a great place to discuss what I find out. It might be public, but it's between the office and here, so I can make a quick getaway there without anyone tailing me back to the office. Plus, no one's going to question or wonder about a man eating across the table with a dame like you. Oh, so this is sort of your alibi and escape plan, Elizabeth asked. Clever. I'll make the arrangements. Good. You can go return the key to Charlie. I'd like to look around a little longer. Elizabeth smiled in reply and turned to walk away. Meanwhile, James turned back to the dock to stare at the water and hide his blush. Being a private eye had taught him the art of deception. He was a man who could cunningly con a cat out of its tuna fish, and not bat an eye about it either. But now that lie he told Elizabeth nearly made him stumble over his own words. He'd meet her at the restaurant tonight after his stakeout. But, personally, it had absolutely nothing to do with alibis.